from Idaho. I strive to provide interesting videos about motorcycles, fabrication, welding, electronics, machining, and general creativity. I hope you enjoy. Hello from Idaho. Today we're going to put an hour meter on my lathe. I like hour meters on my machine tools so you can tell how much they're getting used, how much has happened since the last maintenance, how many hours are on the spindle, etc. They're a very popular commodity on stationary engines and motors and whatnot, because unlike a car, you can't go by mileage, and so they sit there and rack up hours based on when the engine is running, and also on some slow moving things like construction equipment. It's never going to get 1,000 miles on it just because it runs really slow, and so they can keep track of maintenance intervals and whatnot based on hours. I have one on my milling machine. It's very useful to see how much time you put on the machine, how much life you've used out of the machine, etc. So today's video is about installing an hour meter on a Precision Matthews 1030V, but since a lot of these small mini lathes are similar, it might actually work on other things as well. I have rounded up some 2-conductor shielded wire, of course wire ties. Here's the gasket and the information on the hour meter. I also printed out the page out of the manual about the electronics, where the RPM gauge goes, the rheostat, this information here. And here's the schematic. We need to find a place in the schematic where this hour meter will get power when the spindle is turning. And so this schematic has a big contactor here that is controlled by this green button and this red circle. It is interrupted when the lid, there's typically a little lid over here when the lid switch is activated, whenever you hit the emergency stop, and whenever you take the cover off. But anyway, the output of that contactor is what we need power from, and so we'll find that in the electronics box later. So here's how it worked out. So ideally I'd like to put my hour meter right in here, so it sits right in this section. The manual has a diagram that shows the electronics box and the rheostat, but it's a little different than mine. But I think that the key is to take these 6 screws out and find out what's under there. Alright, this is good news. I actually have a big hollow place in here, so I should be able to cut a spot out right there for my hour meter. And then I've got wiring already going into the electronics box, so I'll be able to follow that path and wire this thing up. Okay, the best way I've found to drill holes in really thin sheet metal is with these step drills. I am amazed that even the really inexpensive ones do a good job. And so I'm going to use what's known as a nibbler, which basically just cuts a little square hunk out every time you squeeze it. But you need a hole to begin with. Okay, now we just nibble our way across the panel, taking little tiny square humps out. Okay, it's time to hook up the hour meter. It just needs a connection to 120 volts. So anyway, this is a schematic out of the manual. This contactor right here is where we want to connect. 6T3 and 4T2 are the outputs of the contactor. They go to a filter and to the motor control unit. And so we want, whenever we're driving the motor, we want power to the hour meter. So let's go in and see if we can find the contactor on the PCB. By the way, I have unplugged my lathe while it was running to make sure that I got the right cord. I've got several cords plugged in over here. There's a few things in the shop that can kill you quicker than electricity. Alright, let's take a look inside this box here. This big thing right here is the contactor. It may be a little hard to get to, so I might trace the wires that come out of it and connect to it on the PCB. Okay, after digging around a little bit, I found the terminals on the contactor, and then I followed the wires that come out of them, and they go to this green connector right here. And so I'm going to see if I can use that connection. Okay, here's that green connector unplugged from the board. And note that is a lug type, and so these conductors are held in there with those little screws. So I should be able to piggyback my wires into that same conductor and power up my hour meter. Okay, here's the wire we just fished through. So the reason I'm soldering these is because there's not enough room in this connector for 2 ferrules. And so even though I have ferrules, I can't really use them. Okay, I think we're done. Time for a test. As you can see, my hour meter is hours and tenths of hours. A tenth of an hour is 6 minutes. I've already put a couple of tenths on this meter when I was first got it and tested it. So we're going to have to go from 2 to 3 in order to see if it's working now. So we'll have to run the lathe for 6 minutes. Okay, as they used to say on the Saturday morning cartoons, that's all, folks. As usual, if you like or dislike my video, please select the appropriate button and let me know why. I really appreciate comments and I will answer every one. If you're new to my videos, please select the subscribe and the notification bell to get more videos like this.